G'day friends, welcome to today's video. I've got a pretty lengthy journal with me today and it's all COCO themed because I've seen it 3 times now and I'm still super obsessed. Do yourself a favor and go and see the new Disney Pixar movie COCO. It is just a beautiful story. If I start talking about it, I'm never going to stop. Don't ask Steve about it because he'll rave on for about 40 days. It's just amazing. So go and see that. I found an old little double Frida piece that I did for Inktober that never really made it. So I'm going to use that in my spread today. I've just got some paints. I'm using my large Dilutions journal, which I love, and it's almost full. And Steve got me a little COCO magazine that he said I could cut up for my journal. So I'm gonna put all that together, and it's probably going to be a little slow because I need a lot of time to get through the Q&A. That's what my voiceover is going to be, all the Q&A questions that I got asked about. It was November 4th, I think. I posted it in the Burke Mates Creative Outlet Facebook group. So if you want to go and join that, just follow the link in the description and I'll approve you when you request to join. And we're going to go through those questions. If I don't get through all of them, I will do a part 2 and I'll answer the rest because there are pages of them and some of them are doubles. And I'll just start with I'll address something first that wasn't specifically a question, but it came up a lot. And that was requests for tutorials and certain videos and certain things that you guys would like to see. It's really, really wonderful that you request all of that stuff, and I do note it down, but I'll just be honest with you, I don't work off of the requests list. And that's just because while I have all this creative freedom to post whatever I want to post and whenever I want to post it, I like to just stay doing the projects that I'm inspired to do at that moment, and that can change at the drop of a hat. I have kind of creative schizophrenia, so if I'm sitting down and I think I really feel in the mood to do just a journal spread where I don't have to really teach anything, I'll just do that. And then if I really want to sit down and show you how to do something specific, like how to alter all these stamps that I came out with, I'll do something like the stamp series. So if one of your requests gets granted, let's say, that's just a really lucky bonus because I don't typically work from the requests list. I just jot them down so that they're in the back of my head, and I know that if I ever start a project where I feel like I could incorporate some of those ideas, I will try to do that. But yeah, so that's just something I'll put out there that I'm not really going to address any of the questions about the specific requests and tutorials. I'll just get on to the questions that are random questions, I guess. So Yvonne asked, when I'm in Anaheim, can you and Steve meet for coffee and go shopping at Daiso? Do you ever get recognized when you're out in public? No, I don't. I never expect to get recognized, especially because you only really see my hands, and I don't think a lot of people in SoCal really follow my YouTube channel. So yeah, no, I don't get recognized. Steve gets recognized because he works down at the parks in Disneyland, so a lot of the annual pass holders will recognize Steve when we're out and about, so that's interesting. And yeah, when you're in Anaheim, you could always ask, look, I work 24/7 and Steve is super hard to pin down, but if you're buying, then but yeah, you never know unless you ask, right? So just hit us up when you're in town. We'll see what we can do. I love Daiso. I love anything Japanese, really. Carolyn asked, if you had to choose 7 watercolors, which ones would you choose? Well, I love the Daniel Smith. Daniel Smith aren't necessary. They're an artist grade, so they're really expensive, and they're just, the ones I like to buy aren't specifically like just regular watercolors, like your yellow, your red, your green. I like to buy ones that are difficult to get in student grade sets. So I've got 7 colors that I've picked out here, and I've got it on Instagram as a swatch as well. So go check it out there if you want to see the colors in action. But I'll just list them. I've got Moonglow, Quinacridone Coral, Wisteria, Phthalo Turquoise, Rose of Ultramarine, Mayan Dark Blue, and Kyanite Genuine. And those are the ones I specifically picked because they're really, really hard to get in a student grade. Specifically, like for the stuff we do as mixed media artists and stuff that goes in our journals that's not going to be out on display, it doesn't need to be archival. I find that the student grade watercolors I have do a perfect job. So the Mungyo palette that I reviewed a few weeks ago, maybe now, I think that's a fantastic palette. And to be honest, I just buy the Daniel Smith, or I just acquire the Daniel Smith that are very, very particular in the way that they're formulated, so they granulate really crazy, or they're genuine minerals, and I want to play with those, and or the color mix is very, very bizarre, and you can't seem to find that. So I do choose those for that reason. What's your favorite go-to medium? Heather, it is a mechanical pencil at the moment, or as I once accidentally called it, a mechansical pencil. I love it. I'm reaching for the Pilot OPT 0.5. I reach for it a lot. So it's not my all-time fave. I couldn't tell you what it was, because like it's hard for us to just pick one, right? Because we hoard everything. So I would just say at this present moment, my go-to medium when I first go to do anything, I generally pick up the mechanical pencil or the Mitsubishi pencil that's the two-tone, the vermilion and the Prussian blue. So it's that double-ended pencil. I'll pick up that or the mechanical pencil. So yeah, I guess pencil at this point. Biggest pet peeve, and do you react to it when you see it? And if I can add another in there, what's one guilty pleasure you have? My sister actually got on and answered this, which was so funny. I didn't ask her to do that, but she got it right. It's Tim Tams and a very particular brand of chocolate milk. It's by the company Nippies, or the brand Nippies, and I just love it. It's unbelievable. It's iced chocolate. I don't know what it is. It's amazing. So yeah, I guess it's chocolate then. I love Tim Tams. Caramel Tim Tams or the double milk chocolate. I'm obsessed. We actually had Tim Tams as a dessert at our wedding. And my biggest pet peeve, I'm getting irritated just thinking about it. I hate, double hate, loathe entirely. I hate hearing people eat or seeing people's mouth like with food in it, like when people are eating with their mouth open. I have a visceral reaction to it. I've accidentally snapped at some people before and I've had to apologize, and I do feel sorry because I wish I could control how I feel about it, but it just sends me up the wall. So yeah, hearing people eat and like slop on their food and seeing their mouth open, it drives me nuts. Tell us about Bianca and Oliver. What's their routine? How do they act around each other? Where do they usually sleep at night? That was from Brianna. And Bianca and Oliver, at this point, Oliver's not even 1 yet, so he's still kind of a kitten. He's a nightmare. He's like that young little brother that's just feral, that always wants to play, always wants to get into mischief. And now that all the Christmas decorations are up, it's exactly what we expected. He's trying to live inside the tree. He's acquired all of his favorite ornaments and put them in his stash for Christmas. So yeah, he's a nightmare. Bianca's pretty chill. She always has been. She'll let you pet her until she doesn't want to be pet anymore. She's just classic cat. But their routine, B sleeps all the time. She's the queen. She's just chill. How do they act around each other? Brother and sister. Where they usually sleep, Oliver will sleep on the bed. Oliver likes to sleep inside the covers and horizontal. So he takes up about a foot of space, just a column, 1 foot column up and down the bed. It's insane how he tries to sleep in that bed. And Bianca used to sleep on the bed, but now because she's irritated by Oliver all the time, she sleeps out on the couch. And you can tell where she sleeps because she's a bit of a heavy cat at this point, and there's a dent in the pillows, the back cushions of the couch. So you can tell where B sleeps, but sometimes Steve will sleep out there and sometimes I'll sleep out on the couch just to keep her company because I think she gets a little upset. But hopefully one day they'll both come and sleep back in the room together on their little cat beds. They have separate beds, but she just won't go in there anymore. What's your favorite medium? What do you grab first when you start? That was from Kay. I think I answered that, the mechanical pencil or the Mitsubishi pencil at this point. I do love watercolor as well, and paint pens, and ink. I love everything. Tina, can you provide another 30-day list for us to do in the future? I find it is much easier to complete if someone else provides the prompts. And number 2, what is your favorite genre of music? I will note that down. I can only say I did Whimsy Ween because it was kind of an abandoned project from something else. I never intended to do the prompts list myself. I just thought I'd share it because a lot of people wanted to give it a go. And that was actually quite inspiring to see what everyone did. So I think it would be a good idea. I haven't actually come up with anything. So I put it down on my little notepad and we'll see. If I can come up with it, I will. I don't want to promise anything that I'm not going to deliver, so I won't put in stone that I'm going to give you a prompts list, but if I do get around to it, I will definitely share it. I'm assuming it's going to be Christmas themed because I'm obsessed. And what is your favorite genre of music? I love top 40, but I'm not a big music person. Like, I don't typically listen to music while I'm working or anything. We'll listen to music in the car, listen to a lot of Celine Dion, Whitney, Britney, Shania, Mariah, Celine. I love top 40 and some good old classic 90s ladies. I love that. Spice Girls. I'm starting to see small batches of handmade watercolors popping up with the artists I stalk. Follow on Instagram, like the ones you're using by Designs by Rachel Beth. Are these artist grade or student grade? And what are your thoughts in comparison to my beloved Daniel Smith's? Well, Tina, they are they're all different, I guess. You'd probably have to ask the person that's making them how they make them and whether that would make them artist grade or student grade. It has a lot to do with the pigments that they use and the binders that they use and how archival that could be. So I couldn't tell you if they were artist or student grade. I'm assuming most of them, to keep the price points relatively affordable, they'd be about a student grade. But they've got really interesting properties because they are handmade. So the designs by Rachel Beth, the copper candles, is absolutely stunning. One of the other colors I've used is, I forget which one it was, but it's not particularly staining, and you can put it down, and if you just re-wet the page, you can lift the entire color back up. So pretty good for non-committal watercolorists. But yeah, they're all kind of different. Like I said, I feel like student grade is all we kind of need if you want to get into watercolor. I wouldn't be buying the cheap chalky ones because they don't behave like watercolor. So I'd say start out with a student grade, and like a lot of people have suggested, when you run out of one color that you obviously love and use so much, replace it with an artist grade one, replace it with a Daniel Smith. So I'll do that. And then the other, handmade or Daniel Smith ones, I just get those colors or those mixes that are super hard to find anywhere else. So they're like your little curated boutique selection of watercolors. So yeah, I'd say that they do compare, but obviously, everything is comparable, and Daniel Smith are amazing, and you do pay for that quality. So it'd be something good to find out from them if you wanted to, but I couldn't say. Sasha asked, would you ever consider collaborations? Would you also consider constructing your own design team? Well, I do collaborate. I collaborate, the Shoe Leapt Off the Page earlier in the year. That was a whole grab a mate, collaborate kind of a project, and I like to collaborate with Stella because she's a makeup artist, so a lot of the ways that she transforms faces with makeup, I like to keep in the back of my head when I'm coloring my faces or using stamps and trying to alter the facial features. The same way she'd contour a face, I kind of contour it on my page. So I do like to collaborate, and Steve's a beautiful photographer. He's absolutely incredibly talented at photography, so I do like to collaborate with Steve. It's got to be the right collaboration. It's got to be with people that I feel inspired by and people that are willing to share of themselves, because you can collaborate with people that maybe aren't so open, and then you're kind of not learning a lot, that you're kind of just throwing your skill in there and then getting out. So I do like to have a very inclusive collaborative process. So for that reason, I won't just collaborate with anyone and everyone, and I'm a bit particular about how I do it, but yeah, I do totally collaborate. And would you consider construct your own design team? Yes. I see a massive need for design teams when you've got bigger products, bigger product lines and bigger launches. From myself, I don't think I make enough to warrant having a design team, but there is a validity to having a design team, especially when you start getting more and more busy with what you're doing. It's harder to create content because you're being stretched in so many different directions. So if I was manufacturing a whole lot more and I had a bigger product line to manage, then I'm doing the accounts, I'm doing bookkeeping, I'm doing shipping, I'm doing inventory and stocking, and emails take up a lot of time, and even filming for YouTube takes up some time to edit and get the content out. So something's got to give, and I feel like for me, the more busy I get, the first thing that kind of goes is creating the content. It's kind of keeping on top of showing samples and inspiring ways to use stuff. So that's why I think a design team is great, because it's this great promotional tool that and you can appeal to people that don't have your aesthetic. So I don't particularly appeal to many minimalists, I would think. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a minimalist and you like it, let me know in the comments. But I tend to add a lot. Things are quite busy. There's lots of color, and then sometimes I go in completely a different direction. But I don't think a lot of my aesthetic would appeal to that. So I would choose someone for a design team that had a different aesthetic to mine, something that would appeal to a wider range of people. I think that's a great way to diversify your product. And so yeah, if I ever did create a design team, and if I ever needed one, I would be sure to pick a lot of people that didn't do what I was already doing, because that's something I would throw into the mix. You know what I mean? I think it's a really great marketing tool, and that's what they're kind of there for. And it's there to help produce a lot of content with the stuff. So and not at the moment. I don't need one at the moment, but I hopefully will need one soon, and I'd love to go down that path. Having been a part of a design team, I think I have a good idea of what I would expect from the people in my design team, and how to go about navigating that course for everybody. But obviously everyone goes about it a different way. So design team would be a great thing to have. I have seen Tim Holtz and Ranger like a lot of the stuff you do on Instagram. Will you consider working with them, or say Prima or American Crafts, etc., not to promote their goods, but to develop your own line of craft and art products? Also, each time I see them like your stuff, I squee. Thank you, Liz. Thanks for the squee. Yeah, look, it's great. I really, really do appreciate that. It's a big affirming kind of a thing that happens when you get on Instagram and social media and you see people that you're encouraged and inspired by to engage in your work like that. So I never take that for granted, and I do appreciate the networking that stems from those kind of likes and the DMs and the Insta stories and the connections that you build kind of easier than you used to in the past. So I do love that on Instagram. I would say I'm totally not against working with these companies. I feel like it's one of those things that would naturally develop, and I'd have to be very selective about what they would expect of me, because I don't believe that I'd be bringing everything I want to the table. There's got to be a give, there's got to be a marketability, and I feel like those companies would need to first of all have a need to fill the market space that I would possibly fill, and so it'd be kind of like we both kind of want each other type of a deal. So and that's hard to navigate, so I would definitely do it. It would just have to be the right company and for the right product line. But yeah, let's see if that happens anytime soon. I would really like to do it, actually. I think it would be fun to take some of that pressure of manufacturing my own stuff off my back. It would be great to have a team of graphic artists and a team to help me put together a proper website and a distribution team that I wouldn't have to do all the shipping myself. Like, for all those reasons, I'd love to do it. But yeah, who knows where the future will lead us. Kate, now that you're successful with your art, would you go back into the entertainment or dance industry? Well, thank you, Kate. I really appreciate that. I do feel very successful, so I really do appreciate that comment. Would you go back? I would. I never gave up on it. After my accident, which I go into detail about on the first Q&A I did ages ago, I just kind of left because I had to, and this was the extension of me trying to do something in the meantime. So I had every intention of not really taking my creative brand too far or in any certain direction, because I thought I will eventually go back to dance and then I'll put this on the back burner again, and just keep it quiet and keep it simple and not do anything. But since it wasn't really working out, like, I've been to auditions all year, I've been trying to get dance jobs, but it's just not in God's timing for me this year. It just I felt like I came back stronger than I was before. I put in such hard work for so many months to rehabilitate to a place where I could dance again, and it just didn't work out. So I'll keep trying, and hopefully one day I can do both, because it was a big battle this year to fully commit to my creative brand, because I felt like I had one foot in and one foot out, just kind of waiting to go back to dance. And Steve just told me, if you're going to do it, you have to do it all the way. You have to give it all you can. And since I wasn't doing anything with dance, I was like, well, I've got all my free time and all of my energies to devote to this. So once I did that, I found that I had a bit more success in what I was doing, and I had a bit more of a passion to fully commit. But yeah, I totally haven't closed that door. It will open when it's time for it to open. So, and we'll see what happens then. I feel like I'll just get a really good schedule going, and I'll try and manage both. It may be ambitious, but I like to really give myself a lot to do. Lillian asked, I don't know if you've answered this before. I know you are just naturally talented, but wondered whether you also had any training in fashion illustration or any other art courses. Just love everything you do. Thank you, Lillian. I did do I feel like it's a 5-weekend course of a fashion illustration portfolio. I did that at a TAFE in Sydney, and I also had one of my grandfather's friends teach me a little bit about fashion illustration over a weekend. I did art in school, but I kind of dropped out at, I think, grade 8. I finished that because it was more theory, and I was so I wanted to be really practical about it, and I felt like learning all the theory was just kind of boring to me. And then in the end, I found out that what I really wanted to create was considered lowbrow art. So it just put me off being in that art class, to be honest. So I just kind of left that and just did it for, my hobby. I just did it for myself. And most of what I learned, I will say that I've just learned from books from the library or tracing or YouTube. When YouTube became a thing, I would always get on YouTube and see what I could learn there. YouTube's a great resource to learn lots of stuff from now because there's videos on everything. So I've basically watched others and just kind of mimicked and copied for a long time before I got the confidence to do what I was thinking in my head. So yeah, no real formal training other than like a short course. Madeline asked, what camera do you film with? And just for fun, what's your favorite fairy? And my favorite fairy is the Tinkerbell from the Disney classic animated Peter Pan, because she's super sassy. And my camera that I film with, don't laugh at me, but I film with an iPhone 7 Plus. Honestly, it's all you need, and it can shoot in 4K. I don't actually shoot in 4K, and they've just done these updates with the operating systems on the iPhone and the desktop, and so things aren't speaking well to each other now, and I'm just trying to navigate what that means for how I film from now on. But so yeah, it can be annoying when they update that stuff. I tried with the DSLR, but it was just clunky, and the files were big, and I just, I didn't want to hassle with all of that. I thought my iPhone's super portable. I've always got it with me, and it kind of worked out once I'd started, so I just stuck with it. I don't know if I'll stay with it forever because I feel like maybe it's eating away into how my phone works properly. But yeah, for most of this year, it's been an iPhone 7 Plus, if you can believe that. I shoot at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and that's it. Chanel asked, where do you like to shop? Online. Also, do you fill your cart with massive amounts and pretend like the rest of us? I do. I swear I've got a JetPens cart that has like 8 things in it right now that I don't intend to purchase. I like to pretend. Where do you like to shop? Amazon.com, to be honest, because you can't beat all those prices. Like, it's generally the cheapest place to get anything, and the shipping comes so quick because we have a Prime account, so it just turns up so quickly. But I'm not buying anything that, I wish I was buying. I kind of always just buying like envelopes and shipping labels and, like office stuff to mostly shipping stuff. But Amazon.com. Larissa asked, besides Instagram, where do you get your inspiration? Also, favorite food indulgence? Well, I actually get a lot of it from Instagram. I do love Instagram and YouTubers, obviously. I love the inspiration that's in the Burke Mates Creative Outlet Facebook group. I truly am inspired by everything I see in there, and I don't comment on everything, and I don't get around to reacting and liking and loving on everything, but I do always look at it, and I do really appreciate it. So I do get a lot of inspiration from there. And I also, if I want to be disconnected, if I don't want to get my inspiration from the World Wide Web, I will pick up a Disney concept art coffee table book. I've got a few, and they're all out proud display on the little shelf we have in the lounge room, and I'll just pick up one of those because I just love that tangible feeling of like flipping through a book and getting inspired from that. So, and typically the Disney concept art books, I mean, they're just incredible. So that's that one. Steph asked, so I just watched your video on YouTube, yay, the void was momentarily gone, and you said that hair structure and face shading, etc. would take a long time to teach. Have you ever thought about maybe putting a class book video series together for those of us who want to learn those things specifically? It's not beneath me to beg, I will resort to that if that's what it takes. Look, you don't need to beg, Steph. Look, it's something that is circling around in my brain. Obviously, I don't like to say that I'm going to do something if I don't intend on bringing it out. I don't like to bait anyone, so I don't ever really say something until it's ready. This is not something that I'm actively working on right now, but it is a thought in my head. And joining Mindy Lacefield as a guest artist for her, a guest teacher for her Goody Gumdrops class was really insightful and a great jump into that kind of a world for me, just to see what that would be like and how I would fare in that kind of a situation. So it's something that I wanted to try my hand at a little bit first before I gave it much more thought. But now that that's kind of, I'm getting my feedback and I'm seeing how people did, it is something that I would be interested in, but no solid plans as yet. Doreen, could we hear some more about your dancing? A video snippet, perhaps? Yes, I will put a video snippet in right now.
Nostalgia is my second nature.
So that's my dancing. I love dancing. Dancing is not one of those things where like I wake up in the morning and I have to dance to breathe. Like it's not my oxygen. I just love performing. I love being on the stage. I love having a costume on. I love it to be glitzy and shiny. I love having choreography. When I was a little boy and I would watch people dance on stage, I wanted to grow up so quickly so that I could do it and I could make other people feel the way I felt when I watched it. And so to get the opportunity to do that through, you know, the early parts of my career was just so fulfilling, such a full circle moment. And I never took for granted how impactful performances could be, and how sharing your story like that and taking on a persona and, you know, just engaging people with giving 125,000% of your gifts and talents, what that can do for people. So I loved every bit of it on stage, and just the amazing friendships I made, and it was just such a great outlet. I loved it. It's not like I was battling much and I needed to express myself through dance. I just genuinely had like joy for it. I loved being on stage. So that was my dancing. Marie asked, who does the cooking, you or Steve? What are your favorite dishes? I love Italian foods like lasagna, pasta. Steve loves pizza and brownies and ice cream, so it's kind of all in the same family. Steve, I want to say that I do more of the cooking, but it's such a lie. Steve does a lot of the cooking. I hate cooking. I used to like baking, but I gave up on that too. I just don't like being in a kitchen. I think if we had one of those big model home kitchens, like with the open plan and the big counter islands with 2 sinks, like I think that would make me enjoy cooking a little bit more. Or probably not. I don't know. Just wishful thinking. I don't know. I don't really like cooking, no. Steve does it. Kristen asked, will you ever come back to Australia to live or travel home and do some classes while you're here? I don't know. Steve and I haven't really talked much about where we'll settle finally. I feel like I've been so nomadic my entire, adult life that I don't know if I ever even thought I would end up in one place forever. So I just kind of keep it open. Steve, I think, thinks we'll end up in Italy one day and just kind of living above a coffee shop and just calling it a day. But that's something that's been thrown out there before, so we'll see. I don't know, maybe you'll just catch us in some Venetian cafe somewhere. But I don't know. When I come home, yes, do you know what? I was watching Diane Reevely tour around Australia, and I had no idea the amount of places that there were to do classes. So that just made me think, and one of them was so close to my home that I just thought, that's ridiculous. Like, first of all, how have I never been to that place? And second of all, how did I not know that, it's just like, it's crazy just to see people like actually doing classes at that place. I used to dance. My dance school was one of the buildings right next door to that. So it's super close to my hometown, and I would love to go back and do some classes at home. I feel like it could fund the trip. Because we all know it's a little bit expensive to just jump back and forth from LA to Sydney, but I'm hoping to come back soon. We did think about coming home for Christmas, but it got a little expensive and hard to coordinate time off. Americans don't get a lot of holidays. I didn't realize Australians get tons of holidays, but Americans don't. So Steve doesn't get as much time off, and I'm my own boss, so I can give myself a holiday, but I'm pretty committed most weeks to working a lot. So we just figured it was best to probably stay here this Christmas. Amy asked, would you consider doing a beginner's tutorial on hair? Maybe tell us how you first learned how to draw or paint hair on women. I've followed a few different tutorials online but still struggle with it. I've been releasing a couple of tips and tricks in the stamp series just for some basic hair. Honestly, if you break a lot of things down into shapes, it helps. If you're struggling with it, maybe there's just not something that's clicking with you, and I would suggest just taking yourself away from the tutorial for a minute and seeing what you can't teach yourself. Because a lot of the time that information is back there, it just hasn't clicked in a way that your brain's processed it yet. It's still in there and it's in your subconscious kind of floating about, waiting to be put into a practical application. I feel like when you sit down and start to go through some of that process for yourself without any other noise, without any other voice, something will jump to the front of your brain and you'll be like, oh, that's what that meant, that's how that worked. So to be honest, I just use a lot of references and just copied for a long time until I got something that I felt comfortable with. And even to this day, I'll go on Google Images and find a reference photo if I need that, because hair can always look different. It is one of the harder things to draw, that and hands. Sasha asked, what are some of the differences you've experienced between life in Australia and life in the US? What's your and Steve's favorite rides at Disneyland? Where would you like to see your art and business in 5 years? Some of the differences: driving on the wrong side of the road, driving on the wrong side of the car. Everyone seems to move a lot quicker here. I feel there's a lot more political correctness in the States than there is back at home. I can't say because I didn't live a lot of my life in Australia as an adult. I kind of was just traveling everywhere. So I don't really know a ton of the differences, but I will just say that there's an atmosphere in Australia that's a lot more laid back than there is, I've noticed, living in Southern California. And that might just be particular to this state because I've been to Hawaii and I feel like that felt a little bit more like home, that kind of aloha spirit, like everyone's just chill. And but that's relative to where I lived in Australia. So I don't know, there are weird differences. A lot of the language barrier from English to English is interesting to me, but I feel like you could go on for days talking about who's right and who's wrong. My favorite ride at Disneyland is the Indiana Jones ride. Steve's is the Thunder Railroad Mountain, I think it's called, that one. Where would you like to see your art and business in 5 years? Honestly, that's a hard one because that seems like a long-term and a short-term goal at the same time. I can't tell you because a lot of this happened not quickly, but within a short period, like considering how long like this could have taken to get to this point where I feel like I'm comfortable to manufacture my own stuff and have an online presence and a channel and all that kind of stuff that I typically feel my way out because I'm not really a huge risk taker. So it's kind of happened a little bit quickly for me, but at the same time it's been in process. So yeah, I don't know, for 5 years I just hope that I'm still carrying the same kind of mission statement that I have now, and that's just to essentially whatever I'm putting out there is to help people unlock the creativity that they have inherently and to inspire them and encourage them to keep that childlike imagination just alive and kicking and in full swing, like all burners going. I just want people to keep expressing themselves creatively because it is super important and we're all creative people and I feel like you need to stay in touch with that. So that's my mission, is just to keep people inspired to do that and to help them along their way if they feel like they want some specific direction or they want to know some stuff or they just want to have a friend to do it with. So that's kind of where I want to go, and I hope that in 5 years I'll still be doing that in whatever capacity I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Does that make sense? Christine asked, do you teach dance at all? I did. I was a bit of a bad dance teacher because I'm just super hard. I wasn't great for the kids because I don't tolerate any kind of nonsense. I don't tolerate any lack of effort. It's 100,000% or nothing. But yeah, I did teach dance. It was just a long time ago. What is your favorite candy from Japan, if you have one? Kathy, my favorite candy is... It's pretty generic. Haichu. I love the Haichu, the little chewy candies. Karen asked, what do you have up your sleeve business-wise? Oh, good one. Karen's trying to get all of my my insider trading secrets. I don't know. It's a really diplomatic way of saying I'm not going to share that. Look, I have a few things up my sleeve business-wise. It's obviously going to stay secret because I feel like I've said this 3 times already now, but I don't like to say I'm going to do something and then not deliver it. I get really irritated when that happens, and I would hate to do that. So I'm not going to bait anyone into thinking that certain things are coming that are probably not going to come, or that I have no intention of doing, or that might be late. I generally don't release anything until I know for sure that it's happening and that I've got the means to do it. So yeah, for that reason, I'll keep a tight lip on some of the things that I have up my sleeve, but I will say one thing I can let you know is that I am working on my second book. The first one I released was the creative year I had from 2015 to 2016, and this one is the creative year from 2016 to 2017, and there was a whole lot more stuff that year. So so yeah, this book will be a little bit bigger, and it's filled with lots of stuff, and I'm really loving the way it's coming along at the moment, but it's still in process. So that's something, and also I'm releasing a new stamp set, a new 4x6 stamp set, so I'm excited to share that with you when I get the final product in my hands, which is hopefully very, very soon. Do you have plans of conducting art workshops? Can I visit Disneyland with you and Steve? My husband made me ask the second one. He loves anything Disney. Do you have plans conducting art workshops? Yes. I feel like it's harder to get physically get people in the same room, especially because you've got to choose a place. And I don't know how many Burke mates are just hanging around Southern California. But yeah, I would be interested in it. It's just something that I haven't actively sought out as yet. And yeah, you can totally visit Disneyland. Steve's probably going to be there working anyway, and I'll just pop on in and say hi. If I get a spare moment, I'll probably just bring my journal with me and do some work while we're watching the parade or something. Any plans of visiting us in Australia? Which state are you from? Hope you would have a Burke Mates party here. Just wishful thinking miracles happen. All the very best to you and Steve. Thank you, Christine. Yes, plans of visiting Australia? Absolutely, but just nothing definitive as yet. Hopefully next year at some time. I'm from New South Wales. I live on the Central Coast, so just about an hour and a bit north of Sydney. And yeah, I would love to have a Burke Mates party down under. I think it'd be super fun. I would love to, but I don't know if I'd be able to bring a lot of my art supplies, so we're going to have to share, all right? Victory asks, you have a really unique style when it comes to your fashiony bodies. Would you consider doing a tutorial? That's a hard one, because the principle I used to do those bodies stemmed from something that was actually taught to me. So I feel like it's kind of a grey area of not specifically copyright infringement. It wasn't something that I learned from a certain teacher. It was a friend of my family that taught me what she knew about fashion design when she worked for a fashion house. And so I don't know if I'd be comfortable sharing that, just for the pure fact that that was kind of like a gift that was given to me. And she never told me, like, you can't tell anyone this, but I don't know, that kind of feels weird for me. So if I can figure out a different way to teach something, I might. But I'm just going to stress might, because, like I said, if I haven't planned on doing it, I'm not going to say that I'm going to do it. But it's in the back of my brain, so who knows. Tasha asked, who popped the question to whom? Do you have a cute proposal story? Have you seen the movie Stardust? The witches in it are fab. # Michelle Pfeiffer. I haven't, but I love Michelle Pfeiffer, so I probably should. Steve asked me, and I feel like it was very, very intimate and very, very unusual. So literally, like, I think I was eating a Tim Tam in bed, and we just kind of had this realization that whilst I'm recovering from my injury from the car accident, we've got a big window of time here that would be a great window to fill with immigration paperwork. So yeah, that was interesting in how that happened, but it's not as super cute as you think. It was cute for me, but I don't think it's anything super romantic for you guys to hear about. I think I definitely was eating a Tim Tam. K. Pierce, I just watched your video, My Dose of Giggles, where you showed your stamped pages. Can you tell me what kind of paper you used for the single sheets? Cardstock, watercolor? Oh, I don't even know which one that was, but I'm going to say if it looked smooth, it was probably a Nina bright white cardstock, and if it looked a little textured, it was probably Canson watercolor paper. Paige asked, what advice would you give to those of us who are struggling in art limbo, stuck between it being a total beginner but not where we want to be yet? Maybe tell us what you did in taking that extra step from just doing art into doing art that you love and can be proud of. Well, one of the first steps I took was starting to display my art, starting to put it in frames and putting it up. And then I would find that I'd do better pieces and I'd take that frame down and put my better piece in there. So it was kind of like a very visual representation of how I was kind of growing as an artist and celebrating the small victories that I was having as I was doing that. So I would encourage you to start displaying your stuff. I think the best advice, piece of advice that is the best advice I could give is to not lower your expectations, but kind of get rid of them or make them realistic. Art's one of those things that is like, you're probably never going to reach the finish line, because what is the finish line, right? So I find a lot of people only feel terrible about their art because they had higher expectations. And there is nothing wrong with having high expectations, but if it's stopping you from getting any further, and if you constantly feel like you're failing at something, readjust those for yourself. Don't go into thinking that if I sit down for 30 minutes, I'm going to end up with a piece worthy of my own solo exhibit at the National Gallery. Like, that's just an expectation that's going to let you down when you're finished. If your expectation is to go into it, create something, and enjoy the process, oftentimes you'll start to appreciate more of the work that you're doing, and that will encourage you to keep going. And definitely celebrate those small victories by displaying them and showing them off and feeling proud of them. Even feeling proud of certain bits of a drawing. You don't have to love the entire thing, but you could say, that's a great eye. I did really great eyes on that. I'm going to photocopy those eyes and I'm going to put them in another picture because I love those eyes. So I would just say to kind of eliminate a lot of the the weird expectations that make you feel like a failure, and just to celebrate what you are good at already, because so many of you are so good at so much already, and I see that you're like, well, how do I get better? And I'm thinking, you're already really good. Like, don't worry about getting better. You're going to get better because you're keeping on going. Like, it's going to happen for you. You've already gotten better from where I first knew you, you know? Like, with a lot of people that I start following, and I've been following for like a year and a bit, and I've seen a tremendous amount of growth, and those people are still wanting to get better. It's like weight loss, right? You know, there are people with six packs at the gym that just want bigger shoulders. So just keep your expectations kind of realistic, and celebrate what you're already good at and what you're having success with. Desiree, will you have your very own workshops to create your, no offense, drag queen style? As I'm in love with how you make your child cheeks and voluptuous lips with the lashes to die for. Oh, Desiree. Look, I don't know if I'll have a drag queen series. Maybe, possibly. I do love my drag queens. Just a RuPaul's Drag Race course. Yeah, that's one to put on the notebooks. Elizabeth asked, if you could be a cat, what color kind would you be? And would you have more of an Oliver or Bianca attitude? I think I'm straight up just going to be Oliver. He's cute and affectionate, more affectionate than I am, so I think that'd be a good thing. And I like his coloring. He's like peaches and cream. And he's fun. He's lots of fun. And Steve's Bianca. I feel like Oliver and I are just the same, and Steve and Bianca are the same. Bianca is Steve's Horcrux, so... Karen asked, if you were offered a Disney dance job for the rest of your dancing career, or to continue with your art and produce your own product line, books, etc., which would you choose? Karen, do not make me choose, please. That's really hard. I'm not going to choose. I'd probably say stick with the art for now, just because my body would eventually give out, so there's more longevity in the art. But I'd have to do both. You can't make me choose. At this point, I'm already in the second one, the latter part of that question, so I guess we'll have to go with that. Tasha asked, what is your favourite performance show you did for Disney? Where did you like performing better, cruise ships or parks? I loved One Man's Dream 2, The Magic Lives On, in Tokyo Disneyland. It was my first job, and I went back to do it again in 2011. And that was my absolute favorite show to be in. It was just so magical, and cruise ships and parks have a massive list of pros and cons, but I think I preferred working in the parks, but specifically the contracts that I did at Tokyo Disney, because A, I was in Tokyo, B, it was a 5-day work week, C, I had an apartment there that I didn't really have to pay for, D, I could run around Tokyo on my days off, and E, it was Disney, and it was beautiful, and it was Tokyo Disney, so it was amazing. Yeah, so I did prefer that, but I loved the Disney ship as well. The Disney ship contract that I did was my last dance contract, and I absolutely loved that. So yeah, it's hard, but they're good and bad for different reasons. Amy, now I'm being a little greedy with the second question, but will you be selling prints of your work? I know you've done zines before, but not sure if you ever sell your creations as a single print. Well, I don't love doing prints. I've tried prints before. I just don't like having an inventory or a stockpile of prints. So I'm probably not. If I do prints, they will be like limited edition runs and just prints that I choose. Sometimes I will take custom requests, and if you just message me on Etsy, start a conversation, we can make specific prints that are just one-offs. But usually I do that if I've got some spare time and I can make that work. Not a lot of the time do I have a lot of that spare time, so prints are something that I don't really venture into. I have a few things that I'm working on at the moment that are prints. They're gallery prints, but they're not specifically like 8x10 or 11x14 framed prints. They're a little bit different, but they are prints. Okay. Ali asked, she's laughing at Lurkmates. I love that. Will you ever do a studio creative space tour? Also, can you do a list of your favorite or must-have supplies? I try to jot down what you use from videos. Oh, look, everyone's going to be different. Because mine change all the time, I wouldn't feel good about giving you a must-haves. But generally what I'm liking, I will say in a video. So yeah, I think it's all up there on YouTube. The Creative Space Tour, the studio is always changing. We keep changing it like every week. It just completely rearranges. So I feel like if I showed you, it would be a void video a week later. So I'm just going to wait until it's actually finished, and possibly then I would tour you around. Sometimes it pops up on the Insta stories, so maybe it'll be in there too. How long have you been practicing creating, making art? Do you have some of your first illustrations, drawings to show us? What is something you wish someone showed you or told you when you first started drawing? Any fun beginner books you'd recommend? Color, I tend to mess up my color combinations. Any suggestions? Oh, okay, Jessica. So, how long have you been practicing creating, making art? All my life, since I could pick up a pencil. Do you have some of your first illustrations? Not from when I was a little boy, but I do have some from a few years ago that are hilarious, and I should probably flip through that just to show you that that wasn't that long ago. What is something you wish someone showed you or told you when you first started drawing? That it's all supposed to be fun and don't care what anyone thinks. Any fun beginner books you'd recommend? Lots of Disney coffee table books, Disney concept art books, of course. Color, I tend to mess up my color combinations. Any suggestions? It all depends, but keep colors that are... Oh, I'm going to get this wrong. You don't... If you're going to make mud, if you use the colors that are opposite on the color wheel. Yes? I don't know. Keep warm colors with warm colors, cool colors with cool colors. I don't know. I tend to use any colors I like, as long as the paint layers are dry and it's not going to reactivate. I like to use oranges and blues together, so I can't really even state that. But really, yeah, they're just find things that you actually are drawn to. Like if there's a set of Christmas ornaments at Target that I just love, so I took a photo of it and I made a color palette out of that. And you know, like the teal and the mint and the certain type of pink, and I would say that's a color palette that I love because I was drawn to those ornaments for the formation of colors that there were in that box. So find things that are aesthetically pleasing to you and just make your own color palettes from that. Art retreat weekend for Burke mates? If so, yes, please. I would love to. You'll all be the first to know if we're having an art retreat weekend. Linda asked, when you start to create, do you already have your project planned out, or do you just start and see what happens? I generally just start. There are a few times I'll plan something out, but never anything too in-depth. Mostly if I've got something to teach, I'll plan it out. But yeah. Mostly just start. Marie, what are your must-have Copic marker colors? Are they worth adding to the stash? I only have black right now and about 20 Spectrum Noir, and I also have numerous watercolor markers. Must-have Copic marker colors. The ones that I've been mentioning for darker skin tones I think are a must-have because I get that question asked a lot about shading darker skin tones. So the light walnut and the maroon, and yeah, I mean, again, Copic markers, they're all great. You're just going to have to choose the colors that you really like. There'll be ones that you don't typically reach for very often. Like, I never use the yellows, and I rarely use the greens. I like the grays. I use a lot of the grays and a lot of the skin, flesh tones. But generally, when you buy that flesh tone pack, they give you one. I don't know which one brown they give you, but it's not my favorite for doing darker shades. I've been using the maroon and the light walnut, and that's been giving me better results. So those are the two I would add if you're looking for that. Kitty asked, are you excited about all your fans, followers, stalkers, or do you sometimes wish you were still doing art for art's sake and all by yourself? We are a demanding bunch. But you're a delightful demanding bunch. Look, I love it. I love everyone being involved. I started that Facebook group because I wanted the community to be able to speak to each other, because you all have a lot to share that is totally, has nothing to do with me. You have all your own talents that you brought to the mix, and that's why I like everyone being in that group and inspiring and answering each other's questions, because there's a lot that I can't answer. There's a lot that I haven't tried yet that you guys are actually 12 times better at. So I do really like having that community there for each other, and there for me too, because I get to be a part of it. So yeah, I really do like it. There are still times where I won't film and I'll just do it for art's sake, so don't worry about that. I still have that quiet time for myself, but yeah, so I don't regret starting this at all. I'm still very excited. Aubrey asked, hi James, posting my YouTube question here as requested. Have you considered Patreon? What do you consider to be the pros and cons? Also, what are your top 3 favorite shows, Netflix included? Oh, lately I've been liking Fresh Off the Boat, but my all-time favourite TV show was Kath and Kim. It's an Australian show. And Golden Girls I've been super into as well. But I love Will and Grace. If I have to say top three, I would say Kath and Kim, Will and Grace, and I love Schitt's Creek as well. It's so good. I'm going to say Schitt's Creek. I've said so many. The Patreon question, you know what? That's the one question I won't answer in this video. I'll do it in the next video. I'm just going to answer the last three. Do your stalker, Burke mates drive you crazy with all your questions and requests? No, okay, they don't. Sometimes I do find it takes a little bit of time, so I have to be really careful about how I do it. That's probably why I've done this video, the way I've done it is because I do feel the need to answer a lot of questions, but I never really get angry about it. And I definitely don't get driven crazy. And what product do you have next in line? I need more JLB stuff. Oh, the stamp set. The new stamp set's coming out. And Aubrey, got another question for you. I hope it's not too late. If you were going to create a product line, what items would you want to put out first? I'd love to just put out the very bare essentials and stuff that was like put together packs. So it would be like orange grab bags, but actually for real and manufactured. They would be little journals with papers that I liked and, in the styles and the shapes and the sizes that I liked. And I'd want to put together a lot of stuff that would stimulate a lot of your creativity, but not lead you down any certain path. I want to keep those doors open. I want to keep that brain active, but not put too much of me in there. I want it to be in there, but I want it to be you and me. You know what I mean? So I have to leave a lot of space for that. But that would be something that, I have been thinking about, and I do try to open up that door already. So putting my stamp sets out there and putting the stamp series videos up has been interesting because I feel like that's been kind of exactly what I wanted to do with that. And the Traveler's Notebook, when I handmade those Traveler's Notebook inserts, that was really great for seeing how people would use that and interact with Traveler's Notebooks with, illustrations in them already to inspire new pages and prompt you to do new things. So stuff like that is really interesting for me. The orange grab bags, the digi stamps, obviously the ways that people find to use those has been great. And I'd want to keep doing a lot of the same. And then it just depends on what the company would allow me to do. If I could think huge, I'd do huge. So that wraps up all the questions. I'm going to stop it right now before I go way too much longer. I hope you enjoyed the spread. I will answer the Patreon question in another video because I have a lot to say about Patreon. And it's, half good, half bad. So I don't want to get onto that now and not explain everything I have to explain about that. So look out for the next video. Thank you for watching this if you made it all the way through. If you made it all the way through, leave a star emoji down in the comments below so that I know. And I'll be sure to thank you for that. Okay, bye.